Hello, and welcome to the latest in our environmental policy video series. In each of these collections of bite-sized videos, we'll be bringing environmental science insights into the world of policy in 10 minutes or less. Over the course of this series, we'll be confronting a profound reality. The decisions we make now will be historic ones, and they will decide the stories we tell to generations to come about the fight against climate change. Our video series on climate action and transformative change will revisit the institution's work ahead of the COP26 Climate Summit, delving into the details of our manifesto for transformative change and the 54 recommendations it sets out for global climate action, as well as the analysis and evidence to support them. As the series goes on, we'll learn more about the ways in which climate change has been caused by complex interactions between social, economic, and natural systems. We'll also learn how we can employ systems thinking approaches to achieve multiple benefits for the environment, society, and the economy. In this video, we'll be discussing finance and how the global economy can support climate action. Climate change connects to issues across social, national, and cultural contexts, and finance has the potential to be a common language which connects them all. More importantly, the economy will need to provide significant financial backing to fund the transition. Many companies and private financiers know that we are moving towards sustainability and that it makes sense in the long term to invest in a sustainable future. But they need to have confidence that they're investing in the right areas. Others might not be making meaningful progress towards sustainability, so consumers need to know whether there is substance behind their words. When companies claim to be acting for the environment without taking meaningful steps, we call it greenwashing. Either way, the solution is to have clear and specific definitions of what constitutes a green investment, what will help us move towards net zero, and the kinds of financial instruments or tools which credibly achieve environmental outcomes. National governments and international organizations can work together to produce what we call green taxonomies, which provide those details through accepted classifications and a common rule book, giving the certainty needed to increase investments. Those taxonomies need to align with one another to avoid ambiguity, and they need to find the balance between the flexibility needed to allow financial markets to work and the rigidity needed for a robust and clear framework. Businesses can also help create change through their corporate strategies. Approaches such as ESG have grown increasingly popular. ESG stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance and refers to non-financial factors which businesses should consider from a strategic level. For these approaches to be successful, businesses should ensure that their sustainability commitments extend to all of their assets, investments, and everything they consume or produce across their business model. If they don't, eventually customers will turn away from them. Transparency will also be important. Businesses should be clear about the choices they have made and why they've made them, even if it means exceeding the requirements for disclosing information under the law. Not only will it help us to collectively work towards a sustainable future, it will also show consumers that the business is genuinely acting in the interests of the natural world. Minimum standards, such as the Equator Principles, can provide guidance as a starting point. As businesses approach sustainability, it isn't enough to offset the harm they are doing elsewhere. Genuine attempts should be made to mitigate climate change by reducing each business's contribution. Businesses should also be aware of the risks their actions might be creating for other areas of the natural world. In the second video in this series on climate leadership, we discussed how leaders can take a systems approach to thinking about environmental challenges, and businesses would also benefit from addressing those systemic risks. Sustainability and action on climate change present significant opportunities for businesses to gain a competitive edge. Different businesses might invest in different ways, either supporting short-term investments which will facilitate the transition, or long-term investments in the sustainable future we're trying to create. While they can make those decisions based on what suits their business, their consumers and investors are becoming increasingly aware of the level of change needed, so minimal approaches will end up costing businesses more in the long term. Offsetting emissions without reducing them will not be a sufficient approach, so it should only be looked upon as a last resort. While the private sector is beginning to make significant steps towards sustainability, it cannot act on its own, and it requires the support of governments. Governments can support that process in a few ways. They can work with the most important sectors to produce clear and robust plans to achieve net zero, identifying opportunities for change for individual businesses. They can also help by committing an initial investment of funding to support innovation and to show businesses that sustainability is a viable opportunity. That funding will need to be backed by infrastructure, such as charging points for electric vehicles to support the transport sector's transition. Most importantly, governments can provide certain and clear vision, uniting different stakeholders across the private sector to ensure that everyone is working towards the same goal, and showing that the climate transition is an opportunity for businesses, not just a risk. Expectations, including on taxonomies and investment, will be crucial to leading the way to sustainability. Regulation can take many forms, and some will be useful to help encourage businesses to invest and make appropriate changes to how they work. We should discourage business as usual thinking, while making sure that consumers have the option to make sustainable choices which are not too expensive for them. Those consumers will be crucial to changing how our economy works. So that people can make the right choices, they need more information about what businesses are doing, so greater transparency should be mandatory. There may also be situations where financial schemes can help consumers make better choices, with the potential to accelerate the transition on key issues, such as consumer energy choices, without putting the costs onto those who are least able to afford it. For any of these changes to work, we need science-based targets across the private sector, and we need transparent evidence that helps consumers to make positive choices and avoid greenwashing. But when we have that finance, what will it look like for each of the systems that govern our lives? How could we generate our energy in the future? How can we make renewables a genuine option? And what role should carbon capture, utilization, and storage play? We'll be answering those questions and more as we continue with this IES policy series on climate action and transformative change. But if you want to get an inside track on the answers, you can read all about it in our landmark Manifesto for Transformative Change, which is available on the IES website. If you want to support our work on science-led climate action, you can become an affiliate, or if you're a professional in the environmental sector working with science, consider becoming a member of the IES. You'll find a link to our Manifesto for Transformative Change in the details below, along with our social media and a link to the IES website. Make sure you follow us across platforms so that you're up to date with all of our latest events, videos, and CPD opportunities. And remember to like the video, share it with friends and colleagues, and let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Join us again for another short video in our policy series on climate action and transformative change. But for now, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.